Why do you think that you are close enough to be invited to the wedding? If I was to be friends with you right now, it would be fake because I don't like what you did. You don't make the effort to come and see me. I'm not even going to try. Peach is coming through. You're through to 1-800-DRAMA, the show where you share your biggest dilemmas and I help you navigate them. I'm Shaaba, and with your help,
and sometimes mine,
let's help people figure out if they are the drama, because sometimes you just need an outside perspective and we can all expand our own mindsets along the way. Are you ready to dive deep into the a-holes? Let's go. Hi Peaches, it's Shaaba, welcome back to the show and thank you for clicking on another episode. It's Monday, you know what that means? It's time for us, me and you to go fishing for a-holes. You know what? I'm feeling good. I'm feeling ready. I've been so dead this week. My energy is running a little bit on low. I do think I've spread myself a little bit thin. Like a phyllo pastry, she is doing too much. But you know what? That's what I love about this podcast. It makes me remember to do what's best for me. These brain tools that we use, the mantras that we go through, the grey areas that we explore, it just reminds me to be present, to be looking after myself, and hopefully we can help some OPs do the same. Do you know what it is? It's this new game company. It's Sticky Paw. It's a lot. Running this podcast, writing the book, trying to progress songwriting as a career as well, which is so fun and it's going so well. And I'm having great times in great studios with great people. My creativity is being pulled in like 4 different directions and all of them are so fun. I just want to be like, please stop. Let me savor every inch of every moment. But alas, deadlines. That was my little personal drama update for the week. Let me know, what have you Peaches been up to? Are you having fun? I hope you too are looking after yourself and remembering that self-care is important too. Rest is crucial. It's not the opposite of being productive. It is what is needed to make sure we are ready to be productive. That is a lesson that I'm teaching myself today. Another reminder, Peaches, before we get stuck in, if you would like to help support this podcast, any form of engagement, whether that's a like or comment, subscribing, or if you're listening to this on a podcast platform, rating the podcast itself and leaving a review does astronomically help support and allow this little podcast of ours, this little bubble of the internet, to grow. It's totally free for you and really supports us, so just put it out there if that's something you want to do. But without further ado, let's see what other people's dramas are and whether we can help them out. We are starting off with our Would I Be the Drama? You know I love a good Would I Be the Drama. It's because the drama hasn't happened yet, so it just feels nice because I feel like we're intercepting, you know? Would I be the drama if I told my sister that I am not her therapist? Ooh. I feel like everyone at some point in their lives has had to have this conversation with a loved one. It isn't easy, but that's what we're just talking about, right? Protecting yourself too. Let's see what OP has to say. For context, my older sister's wife kicked her out. Okay, I won't go into detail because the details are irrelevant to my question. My sister keeps calling me multiple times per day, saying how she is so depressed and she feels so unwanted, and it's honestly getting really annoying. It's not like I don't care. I mean, what kind of younger brother would I be if I didn't care? I do care, but I have my own wife and kid to worry about taking care of. I understand that she's going through a lot right now, but this has been going on for about a month at this point. It's getting really tiring having to drop everything that I'm doing with my own life and kid to listen to her talk about her marital problems. So would I be the drama, short and sweet post, if I told my sister that I'm not her therapist and I really don't want to talk about her marital problems anymore and she can't keep calling me multiple times per day expecting to be on the phone for over an hour each time? Yeah, I think we'd be hard pressed honestly to find anyone who can't relate to this. And I hear OP totally when they're like, I do care. It's not that I don't care. I just also have had enough. It is too much, especially if it's multiple phone calls a day where each phone call is taking an hour. That is going to be a lot. I do think as well your level of empathy, like how much of an empath you are, can really affect how much you get affected by these things. I do think annoyingly I am a massive empath. I don't want to be, but I see a wooden spoon going into a boiling pot and I'm like, oh, are you okay? And when you are so invested in somebody's problems, it can feel very annoying, especially if you have that added layer where you're also a bit of a control freak and you're like, I know what needs to happen, and then the person that you love is not doing that thing, either because they're not ready, they have a different opinion to you, or what is most commonly the case, they're not seeing things as objectively as you are because you're not in the situation, and so it takes them time to get there, which I guess is the same point as them not being ready. But none of this means that you don't care. Both things can absolutely be true. Having said that, is it therefore the right move to be like, I'm not talking to you about this anymore? And honestly, I think it depends on the context of how you're saying no. I'm in two minds. Half of me saying, of course, you must protect yourself. You don't light yourself on fire to keep other people people warm. We know this. How on earth can you even help somebody else if you yourself are a burnt little charred stick, you know? And I'm sure your sister wouldn't want you to be burning out and stressing out as well over this and feeling like her problems are overtaking your life too and making it feel like you too cannot function. And at the same time, relationships aren't always balanced. It's not always I give this percent, you give this percent, I take this percent, you take this percent. With the people that we love, often when they are going through things, there are periods of your relationship where you are giving and giving and giving. And then when shit hits the fan for you, which it always inevitably does at some point, you're taking and you're taking and you're taking. You're in the position of your sister. And I do think this half of me is like, you're not the drama at all. You need to do what's good for you. That half of me that recognizes that relationships are not always balanced and sometimes we do need to be there even when it hurts, even when it's exhausting, because no matter how exhausted we are, imagine how exhausted they must be being first-hand experiences of the issue that's going down. That part of me is more inclined to be like, you are a little bit the drama. But I do think that there is a reality that sits somewhere in between. It's quite a black and white question, this, you know. Would I be the drama if I told my sister, I'm not your therapist, I really don't want to talk to you about it anymore, you can't keep calling me? That makes it sound like it's an all or nothing. What I would be inclined to do is to say, I love you, sister, and I want to be here for you, but this is not sustainable. I've got my own stuff to be getting on with and I can't be on the phone with you multiple times a day. I really recommend you have a chat with a therapist about this. I know you need that ear and I'll help you find that ear that can be available for you for as long as you need, and when you need me, I can be here, but it just can't be at the same frequency that it is right now, because my life is a lot too and I want to be able to balance all of these things. That's definitely more the direction that I would go in, setting the boundaries, letting her understand that you do want to be there for her, but you just can't with the time demand that she is requesting from you. And that way you are looking after yourself, this side of the argument. You are carving that time out, you are prioritizing your life and your needs, but at the same time you are being there for them when they need it most. My one caveat to this is if someone is in dire need. If someone's in a really, really dark place, which can also happen, and you are the only person that they feel that they can speak with, if you are in any way concerned about somebody's well-being in that sense, then I would really recommend not saying anything that would make them feel like they've lost you as a sense of support. And of course that comes with a whole load of caveats too, right? You need to make sure that you're feeling comfortable with the advice that you're giving. If you feel totally out of your depth, if you don't understand how to help someone or provide them with the support that they need, then do remember support in itself can be signposting to other resources, maybe going to a therapist session with them, or rewinding a step, going online together and finding that therapist and making sure you are checking in. It doesn't have to be multiple hour-long conversations on the phone, but maybe it's saying things like, during the hours of 7 and 7 I have so much life going on. If you need to get a hold of me, drop me a text and I will respond as soon as I can. And after 7 p.m, we can chat. Let's make sure that we're touching base once a day and we can have that hour-long catch-up. And even that, I understand, can feel a lot, but that's what friends are for. That's what loved ones are for. Not permanently, but in those moments where they really need you to give. So I'm gonna cop out a little bit in terms of the badge, because it really depends on whether you're being like super direct with it and being like, I don't want to speak to you at all. I don't want to speak about your marital issues. I do think that that would be a drama move. However, if you're finding this middle ground and just prioritizing yourself and setting boundaries for your own time while still showing and expressing that you are there when they really, really need you, then not the drama, of course. And for anybody in this situation, please do realize that there is a huge grey area in between. These bloody grey areas, eh? Life would be so much easier in black and white. Should we see what other people have to say? The problem is you are answering multiple times a day, and the reason for the split does matter, because a hard done by sister gets a different level of help in this household to one that is the guilty party in it. That is a really good point. At first I was like, no, Commander, you're just being a little bit nosy, aren't you? But I do hear what you're saying. It could be that if they were really hard done by and super hurt and have a lot more healing to do, that requires a softer approach and more contact time with a loved one. Whereas if your sister OP is the one that's been cheating or something, you can be like, get the fuck over it. You made your bed, you lie in it. I do also agree with the whole, you've kind of created this situation by answering the phone multiple times a day. I love my friends and family so much, but my work time has to be my work time, especially being self-employed, because otherwise there's just no barriers. I'm up until 2 a.m. filming videos. But during those moments, I just won't pick up the phone unless I'm having a particularly lax time and I feel like I can accommodate it. I'll do that little text thing, you know, the automated, sorry, I can't talk right now, or can I call you later? And then if something's really urgent, they'll make that known, and then you can have a chat with them. I hope he's actually responded to this and said, honestly, I've started not answering because it's always the same thing every time and she never listens to my advice. I tell her to stop trying to fix things with her wife. She's only only making it worse and she's better off without her anyway. But like I said, she never listens. The only problem is when I tell her that I'm busy, she then says that she feels like she's a burden on everybody. Oh no. And someone else said answering machines exist for a reason. Was a split her fault? Anopi said no, her wife is extremely manipulative, and whenever my sister calls her out on it, she acts like the victim. There's a lot that I could say about her wife, none of it good, but let's just leave it as not a fan. Oh, that's a tricky position to be in. It sounds like what your sister is going through is being emotionally abused in some way. When we're talking about extreme manipulation, breakups in this way, being iced out, using love as a transactional item, a form of punishment even, it's quite understandable, to be honest, why she would then feel like she's being a burden on people. And this isn't to say that your sister's a horrible person by any means, it's just the truth of the matter. Depending on how long she's been in this relationship for, quite often people who are in relationships with manipulative people end up absorbing and unconsciously being slightly manipulative themselves. Emphasis on unconscious and slightly. I'm talking about the people who really don't mean to do it, who don't realise that they're doing it, and who essentially have used it as a form of survival in their own relationships to maintain their sanity and their sense of well-being. And it's a really common thing to do. And that context of the manipulation makes so much sense, because when I hear your sister saying, oh, I feel like a burden, when you say that you're busy, that can absolutely be quite a manipulative thing to do. And in these situations, the best thing to do is to maintain those boundaries. And in time, if you see that being a more common pattern of behavior, saying, hey, we need to respect people's time. Doesn't mean I'm not here for you, but it does mean that I can't be on the phone with you for hours and hours in a day. I have a life too. Not the drama. Even a paid therapist doesn't take multiple calls in a day. You have to stop answering more than what you are comfortable with. I see these comments and I do agree with them. I do. I also, however, feel that it was such a short post, we don't have like a huge amount of nuance. And I can 1,000,000% see scenarios where you should really be picking up that phone if someone is in a darker space and you're concerned for what they might do either to themselves or to those around them. I know, for example, some people who I love dearly, that when they are in a really big tizzy makes it sound so trivial, but when they are really, really upset, if they can't talk to the people that they need, then sometimes what they do is hop into a car, and it freaks me out because that's not a safe thing for them to do. So I'd much rather pick up than see them put themselves in any situation where they could be acting recklessly. Does that make sense? And in those situations, a really cool tool that I found, and actually coincidentally in relation to this post, it was specifically a book about how to be a good friend to a friend who's going through a dark time following a toxic relationship breakup. One of the really cool pieces of advice that I continue to use is this number scale system. So when your loved one is in a good place, not when they're in their super dark place, right? You can set the boundaries for what that number system is. For example, like 1 to 10. 1 being, I really need you right now. 4 being, I could do with a phone call. I'm not doing great, but it's not super urgent. 7 being, I'm doing well. I'm okay. Things are not rainbows and kittens. I was going to say croissants and I have no idea why. But I'm showering, I'm brushing my teeth. We're all right. We're doing fine. And 10 obviously being like, I'm healed, a queen. Having some form of system like that, and of course with people who are not abusing that system, is also very important. Can be super handy because it means you can ask things in a really chill way that doesn't have to get too deep, like just number check. It means they can let you know when they need help, and if they're not sending you a 1 or a 2 or a 3, you know that it's okay to not pick up that phone call this time. And it also allows them to express themselves without using words that they probably find very painful, because they're not in a position where they're ready to maybe confront the truths of those real words yet. So just in case it's useful to anybody else, number systems, not the drama. Choose an amount of time per week that you can talk and set that boundary. Do so with care and love, but be firm about the fact that you just don't have the ability to be there for her due to everything else going on in your life. And OP said, thanks, I just need to find a way to tell her that without sounding uncaring. Oh, somebody else said, you are the drama. How would you feel if your wife kicked you out? You're her family. Losing your marriage is beyond difficult. You're annoyed by your sister's heartbreak. Imagine how she feels now that her entire life and future is flipped upside down. If we're a year in, it's okay for more serious talk, but a month after losing her wife and you're annoyed that she's depressed, get a grip and a heart. Oh, again, this side of me sees where this comment is coming from. But my problem is it's totally ignoring this context of you need to look after yourself too. There is 1,000,000% of truth that lies in between. OP actually has responded to this one and said, said this has been every day, multiple times a day for over a month. And she expects to be on the phone for over an hour each time. Like I said in the post, I've got my own wife and kid to worry about. My son's 4 and level 1 autistic and requires a lot of attention. Look, OP, you don't need to justify yourself. Even if you didn't have a child, even if you were single, it doesn't mean that you have the brain capacity to take on somebody else's trauma and depression so consistently for so long over so many days. It's going to be hard on anybody. I wish you the best of luck, OP. And to anybody else who finds themselves in that position, please make sure that you look after yourself first. Because as Mama RuPaul says, if you can't love yourself, how in the hell are you going to love somebody else? Look after yourself. Am I the drama for sticking with my partner in a debate over her not getting invited to my brother's wedding? Oh, wedding ones are always a little bit spicy. Why is it that wedding drama is so often caused by the loved ones that you're inviting to help celebrate your relationship? I find that so ironic. It's not your fault though. It's just the way it is, innit? Let's see if we can help OP out. OP says, I'm a 30-year-old man and I'm in a 3.5-year relationship with my partner, a 33-year-old woman. I was living near her family when we met, but I've moved near my family last year, so that time has been long distance. Okay, we'll both visit each other occasionally throughout the year. One time she was over, my brother, 28-year-old man, and his partner, a 28-year-old woman, dropped off wedding invitations last winter for the rest of my family that didn't include her. Oh, how long have you been together? 3.5 years? Okay, but we don't know how long you've been long distance. Interesting. Okay, but what we do know is that you were living near her family, so I'm assuming you've spent a lot more time with her and her loved ones than the other way around. I'm trying to wonder why your brother hasn't invited her to the wedding. And honestly, right now, it's not seeming like suspicious, you know? It was a small wedding, just immediate family, there we go, which excluded some grandparents and other close relatives who were interested in attending. Excluding the grandparents in particular, that is really intimate, right? I get it at this point. My girlfriend was upset that they dropped off invitations when she was there that didn't include her and wanted to address it with them. Oh no. Did they know that you were going to be there? As in, did the brother know that your partner was going to be visiting at the time that they dropped it off? And also, how close are they / how often do they come to visit? This is important context that I'm wanting to know the answers to. OP says, I was reluctant to do that, as in to address it with them, because I figured it was something that would just fizzle out over time, which makes so much sense. What is that phrase? Turning a pony into a coffee cup? You're making an ant into a coffee cup? Why can't I remember the phrase? You know what I'm talking about, when you're making a big deal out of nothing. Turning an ant into a molehill, turning a puddle into a mountain. Honestly, ADHD baffles my mind sometimes. I sometimes listen to myself and I'm like, you're so clever, and then I do things like this and I'm like, let's carry on. She kept pressing me on it and getting more and more angry and upset about it. And so I offhandedly mentioned it 2 to 3 times over a few months to my brother about her sadness, but not her anger. He responded that sorry, but it's a small wedding. She's not invited. Okay, we need to break it down. I don't know why I did that. I have 3 questions. 1, is your girlfriend upset that she wasn't invited or that the invitation was given while she was there? Does she consider that rude? Because those are 2 different things. She can understand not being invited to the wedding, but feel embarrassed that that conversation and that moment was where she was, oh my God, I've lost my words again, but you know, made to feel awkward and standing on the side. I'm not even going to try with whatever phrase that is. But you know what I mean? She's being like an awkward little pickle whilst everyone else is like, oh, so lovely. That's a very different thing to want to explain and want to get closure over versus I want to be at the wedding. Why didn't you invite me to the wedding? So that's my first question. My second question is, does the brother know the distinction between those? Because I feel like that'd be quite a simple thing to sort out. Like if it is about the annoyance of putting her in an awkward position, then I'm sure any reasonable person could understand and be like, it's a bit of a weird thing to bring up, to be honest, but I do apologise. Didn't want to make you feel uncomfortable. Hope you understand it's a small wedding. See you next year. And my third question is, why have you, OP, not just gone, babe, you're doing the pony on the mountain thing. Let's not do that. It doesn't need to be a big deal. They're planning a wedding. This is the smallest of cheeses. It's nothing personal. I think we should just move on. I'm not going to address it with my brother. Those are my 3 questions. Because if I were in OP's position, I wouldn't be bringing it up, especially multiple times, to my brother. Making a dumpling out of dough. I really can't remember what it is. I'm so annoyed. My partner wanted a a meeting, to address this with them. So I arranged a meeting with the four of us the next time that she was coming to visit. I screwed up not telling my brother and his partner about how important this was to my partner so they could address her concerns earlier. I do think if it's gotten to the point of calling a meeting, you absolutely should have let them know. I'm trying to put myself in the position of brother and girlfriend and being like, this is really freaking weird, especially like hearing it so out of the blue. And I would be like, whoa, you're making a massive deal out of this thing that actually isn't a big deal at all. That meeting, says OP, was awkward and difficult for all. My partner said that she felt that she wasn't important to my brother and her partner because the invitations were given right in front of her and she was never addressed directly that she would not be coming to the wedding. I mean, what did she want? Here you go, by the way, the wedding invitations. By the way, brother's partner, you're absolutely not invited. Hope you understand. Like, that would have been so awkward. I do speak in jest. Of course, there is a way where you could have said, by the way, Priscilla, I don't know what she's now called, Priscilla, you're really lovely. I hope you understand that it's just a really intimate wedding. We're keeping it super small. We're not even inviting grandparents. So it's nothing personal. We'd love to see you afterwards, another time, right? Something like that. But it's not required. I do think this is giving main character syndrome, especially arranging a meeting to talk about it. Like, if you really wanted to address it, I can understand. I mean, I can't really, but surely the steps beforehand that I'd understand more than arranging a meeting would be to drop them a text, to pick up the phone if a text wasn't enough, but to arrange a meeting in person. And if you're like, oh, I don't have their number, we don't text, we don't call, then why do you think that you are close enough to be invited to the wedding? This is just a bit too much from girlfriend, in my opinion. Also, says OP that she had wanted to get to know them, but felt that they hadn't put much effort into getting to know her. Her tone wasn't nice, but it wasn't mean either. And that's fine, isn't it? In terms of tone, I think it's fine to be stern and not necessarily be nice, as long as you're not being aggressive or horrible. She asked if we could do something all together the next time that she was in town and do an online event together to try and get to know each other better. I think that's really sweet, as long as it's not coming with this ulterior motive of like, we're going to do this online Zoom quiz and then we're going to go rock climbing and then you're going to invite me to the wedding, right? Like, as long as it's not coming with that expectation, I think that is sweet. I still think it's weird though, and I'm not sure if I would like see it only as sweet if I were in the position of brother and fiance. I'd be like, wow, this is a lot. And then I would get round to the fact that we should absolutely be closer if we're all going to be family, you know? She just messaged the group chat recently to organise an online get-together with all of us. My brother and his partner didn't respond to the message for a few days, and I was visiting them that day, and I thought I'd bring it up in person. As you would. That's fine. The fact that they haven't responded either means that they've just been busy, because a few days, in the grand scheme of things, is not very long, or they're being super passive-aggressive about it. So I definitely would have brought it up also. My brother mentioned how they were feeling off-put by the whole situation and wanted some more time to respond, and I asked if they could respond soon. And that's fine. I don't think anybody is the drama there in this little transaction. Them wanting some more time, you also wanting to not flame the fires on a situation, because sometimes sitting on this silence just allows people to brew on the awkwardness or anger that they're feeling, and squashing something sooner rather than later means that there is less to squash. They then responded saying that my partner attacked them, made the wedding about her, and set out her definition of friendship in that last meeting. They also responded that they don't believe that their feelings are conducive to building a friendship right now, and it would only meet her requirements of friendship. I understand. I just think this whole thing has been blown out of proportion, but I get it. What they're saying is, look, if I was to be friends with you right now, it would be fake, because I don't like what you did. Personally, I feel like my partner is now the one reaching out to try and build a friendship, even though she wasn't invited to their wedding, and despite the tensions on both sides built through that meeting, where she wanted to address not being invited to the wedding. And I actually think it's the tensions that's made it worse, right? It's not the fact that she wasn't invited in the first place. And I think it's really important to not get that twisted, especially as OP. Sometimes we can be swept up, especially with the people that we speak to often. She's clearly talking to you about this a lot, but I hope that OP can see that her not being to the wedding was never something to feel animosity over in the first place. It is not a requirement to send anybody an invitation. If you are having a wedding, just like if you're having any kind of freaking party, you get to decide who comes, not people who think they should be invited. I just don't like the fact that I'm feeling that OP's like, oh, now I'm feeling put out because she should have been invited to the wedding. And also, it was really awkward having this chat, because yes, the awkwardness is very valid, but being invited is not, in my opinion. I'm on my partner's side that I think they should have handled this better. Am I the drama? Oh, I'm struggling. Why are these not straightforward today? I think it's because, yes, they could have handled the not responding better, but I really respect honesty. Truly, I don't like it when people are just like saying things to placate things, to keep the peace, because no one is happy in those situations. Like, like ever. So if they are saying, look, we're not ready to be friends right now, we found that a little bit awkward, we want some time to get over it, yes, we need to get to know you a bit more, but now is not the time to be doing this. We also, you know what else they have on? Planning a wedding is really freaking stressful. All manner of things could be happening in their life where the capacity for doing this will just make them like more snippy and more aggy. And ultimately, why would you want to be friends with someone who is telling you that right now, I'm not ready to be friends? That's just awkward, isn't it? They've not said, I never want to be friends with you. That would have been really bad. What they've said is their feelings are not conducive right now to building a friendship and would only meet her requirements for friendship. And I actually think that's really considerate. At the same time, I also think it's really sweet that your girlfriend reached out. So for those reasons, I'm saying no drama here. But I do think that your girlfriend was the drama and therefore you kind of were by proxy initially for making such a big deal out of this in the first place, for arranging this meeting when a text would have been fine if anything needed to be said at all. And you, OP, kind of didn't do anything to bring some rationality to that situation and kind of diffuse that main character syndromeness, you know? And I'm not saying that OP's girlfriend is being a main character for wanting to get to know them better. I actually think that's really sweet. Your feelings are very valid. If you're hurt and you're like, oh, I really wanted to be invited to that wedding, I'm sad that I'm not. I'm sad that through this mechanism, this is how I'm learning that I'm not close to your family, and therefore I would like to know them more. Like, that's all fine. And if she had reached out and gone, hey, very excited for your upcoming wedding, congratulations to you both, on a totally separate note, should we do something together? I would really love to hang out. Do you fancy doing an online Fortnite session, the four of us? You know, something like that would have been fine, but bringing it up as an issue, that's where I have an issue. No, let's see if other people agree. You are the drama. Grandma and grandpa don't get to go, but someone they barely know has to be. You set up meetings over this? Your girlfriend's on the crazy train. You might want to consider jumping off that ride. I don't think that's fair to say. You can't say this is like breakup worthy. And also, you've been together for 3.5 years. I get that you guys are close, but this really does sound like a very intimate wedding. And it does, to me, sound like OP is getting swept up in just how much he's heard the hurt from his girlfriend and isn't actually seeing this objectively as like, it's really not that big a deal. As in, it's not personal. It could be a big deal to her, but it's not personal. You are the drama. You and your girlfriend are the asshole. This is a long distance relationship. You only see each other occasionally. Assuming you sometimes visit her, this means your brother's barely met her. It would have been good to know that. I will put that up as a need more information badge. How often have they met? She's not important to your brother and his wife, nor should she be. Just because you've been in this long distance relationship for 3.5 years doesn't make her a part of your immediate family. And even if she was a part of your immediate family, just to remind you, the grandparents aren't coming to the wedding. It's hella small. The way that you and she handled this was very confrontational, and her insistence of now trying to establish a relationship seems pushy. Why was this not priority before the wedding invitations were sent out? Exactly this. And I would definitely feel like guarded if I was the brother and the girlfriend. I've just been invited to this meeting where someone's had a go at me for something that I just don't think anyone should be having a go at someone for. And now they're like, great, homework, let's bond. It's just a lot. It's very full on. It's very soon. And I too wouldn't be able to build a meaningful and authentic friendship on those grounds. I'd need a little bit of time too. Your partner sounds unhinged to me. Oh. You're the drama and your partner's a massive asshole. She's not entitled to attend anybody's wedding. Grandparents and other relatives aren't invited. Why does she think that she should be when they don't really know her? And what the hell is this setting up a meeting to discuss it? You shouldn't have done that. It's your brother's wedding. It's about him and his future wife, and they're very much entitled to invite or not invite who they want. Couldn't agree more with that last bit. I'm gonna go with everybody sucks here, so somebody else. Look, was it careless of your brother to give you an invite in front of her when she's not invited? Yes, I do agree with this too. I can see why she would be hurt over that. I wouldn't have been, but I can see how certain personalities would have. He could have waited so it'd be more tactful, but your partner's taking it way too far. Expressing her about the carelessness is okay, but being this angry and vindictive is just downright toxic. Everybody sucks here, regardless of how small the wedding is. I think it's impolite to hand out invitations in front of somebody who is not invited. I get it. I get that. Best of luck to you, OP. I urge you to try and see things objectively and not get too caught up in the people that you're speaking to most. But most importantly, I hope you have a great time at the wedding. I truly do manifest that more organically a cute little relationship can build between you and your girlfriend and your brother and his wife to be. Oh, drama. Our final drama submission today is from a fellow Peach over on the 1-800-DRAMA subreddit. For those of you who don't know, you can head over there yourself to either submit your own drama for consideration for the podcast or for advice from the Peaches, but pretty damn good at giving advice, by the way. Or if you're just really good at giving your advice too, please do feel free to help out the Peaches who are posting. This Peach asks, would I be the drama for getting a matching tattoo covered up? Ooh, you know, I don't think we've ever explored something like this before. Oh, it's so interesting. You're wasn't too long ago that we were talking about tattoos and meanings and how meaningful tattoos need to be. And it's one of my biggest concerns about getting things like friendship tattoos. I do have one. This little guy here, my little match. 2 other very lovely people in my life have matches also. And I just really hope we stay friends because I want to keep this baby forever. But at the same time, I do think that if ever I go into tattoos, I'd be really interested to know if other people do the same. I kind of give them dual meaning. I do think, and maybe this is like the toxic commitment phobe in me, which absolutely does exist. I definitely do that sanity check of, look, if this person isn't in my life, if we do like totally fall out and they are dead to me, would I still like this for myself? And if the answer is no, I'm not getting that tattoo. But let's see if we can help Peach out. Hey Peaches, hi my love. I am a 29-year-old woman and I have a matching tattoo with my sister, a 32-year-old woman. We got them when I was 18 and it was my first tattoo. That's so cute. I'm sorry, I know this story is about covering it up, but that is a very adorable rite of passage to be doing together. We don't live near each other. We're about a 2-hour drive away as I moved with our mum and younger siblings in 2010. My older sister stayed with dad. I've got you. It's making sense so far. Anyway, we've always been super close, best friends, each other's rock. But this year we had a huge bust up. Sorry to hear that. She doesn't visit me or my children, who are 6 and 8-year-old boys. She doesn't ask about them and she only gets updates and photos if I send them. So I stopped sending them to see if she would reach out off of her own back. I think that's so fair. Nobody wants a relationship to be one-sided. Nobody wants to feel like they're sort of causing an imposition or that they're providing updates and their time when other people don't actually want that. And so I don't see this as like a test. I see this more as being like, all right, well, I'm managing my time. Let's see if this is something that you want, you know? And I'm just assessing if this feels right by seeing if this is also something you want to. She didn't. Oh, I'm sorry, Peach. My eldest son is on the pathway to an autism diagnosis and hates traveling, so we've only visited a handful of times. Or when my sister used to visit, she would sleep in the camp bed in the spare room, but one time she visited with her new girlfriend. This made my son extremely uncomfortable because he didn't know her. She asked to smoke in my house. I said no, so she sat and smoked on the kids' trampoline instead while they were on it. Oh, no, that's not okay. Sorry, just to confirm, this is the girlfriend that did that? This is very not okay. Read the room, girlfriend. Oh no. Since then, I said if they visit, they'll have to stay in a hotel but can spend the days with us. She didn't like the idea of this, and so she hasn't visited since, except for my wedding last year. Is this what the bust up was? I feel like maybe no, because it doesn't sound like a huge bust up, right? Or maybe I'm misunderstanding. But I can understand how that's, you know, created an awkwardness with your relationship, because you didn't say don't come. You set boundaries of what's best for your family, and she's taken that to an extreme and been like, all right, we just won't come then. She messaged me earlier this year and asked why I didn't text anymore. Oh, wait, this is when you said you'd stop texting, so that's a good thing, right? So I told her I was tired of being the one reaching out. She then kicked off on me, saying that if I wanted people in my kid's life, then it's my responsibility to make that happen because she can't afford to stay in a hotel. And OP adds, she has about 4 holidays a year, which is fine, it's her money, but I don't understand the using I'm broke as an excuse not to visit, and that I should therefore be the one visiting her. I explained why this is difficult. My boys are both in school Mondays to Fridays. My son, as mentioned, hates travelling, and I'm a carer for my husband, who's a 28-year-old man too. And you know what? I get it. There was part of me that was going, if you're saying that you can't go and she's saying, look, but I don't understand why I'm the one that constantly has to come to you, especially if I'm having to pay. Reading in between the lines, what she could be saying is, I feel like you don't care about me. You don't make the effort to come and see me. And I'm not somebody who cares about that balance. Like if I'm seeing you somewhere, it doesn't really matter where I'm seeing you or who's making that effort to go. I just like seeing someone, but I do know a lot of people who are very like, I invite you here all the time. You don't invite me. That is personally so offensive to me. Like I see that as you not caring. And I do get where that thinking comes from. However, if you do have dependencies, if it's not equal in that way, like does your sister have kids? I don't think we have been told, but clearly you have a lot of dependence and a lot of pull reasons as to why you're doing it here, why you're not traveling out. You have a child that doesn't like traveling, that's difficult. You have a dependent in a partner, that's also adding additional complications. You have 2 kids, don't know how many kids your sister has, and obviously with kids, especially at school time, that means routine. So especially in holidays, you're going to be quite restricted. I said how sad it makes me that she's missing out on them growing up, and she said that she isn't missing out on anything. My son isn't actually autistic because he hasn't had his official diagnosis yet, and proceeded to insult my husband and our wedding day, which was 20 people, registry office and a meal, saying that it wasn't a proper wedding. Why? Because it was too small? Because you went to a registry office? What is a wedding if it's not getting married and having a meal? Her words and her disrespect about my family really hurt, and we haven't spoken since. Oh, I'm so sorry, Oh Peach. This is such a nasty way to end what sounded like a really close relationship. Now about the tattoo. It is on our wrist, a heart and an infinity sign. And I wanted to get this covered up before we fell out because I didn't like the positioning of it anymore. So I was going to get it redone somewhere else, but now I don't want to get it redone, just covered up. Would I therefore be the drama if I got my matching tattoo covered and not redone? No. I can say that with utmost certainty. You would 1,000,000% not be the drama. Firstly, and purely because it's your body, it's your choice, but also because these things don't need to be permanent. What really sealed it for me was you saying that you were already not loving the position and you wanted to get it redone elsewhere. I hope, I manifest, just because it's not nice to have these breakups, right? I manifest that your relationship with your sister will heal in the future, that she'll come to her senses, that she'll apologize, that she'll give you faith that the reason that she was saying it was because of X, Y, Z, and she has grown from that, and that you can be close again. And the wonderful thing about tattoos is if that does happen, you can always get it redone then. But ultimately, you should not have something on your body that doesn't make you feel good. And so what if she catches wind and hears and thinks that, this cover up was a result of the breakup? I don't believe that you were gonna get it covered up anyway. I don't believe you didn't like the position. Doesn't matter. You know your truth, Oh Peach. And at the end of the day, especially if you're not speaking, you are the one that has to live with seeing your wrists every day, not your sister. So I would 1,000,000% encourage you to rework your gorgeous body into art that you feel comfortable with, and to be open in the future to potentially getting it redone if your relationship does get better and that's something that you want to do. And the reason that I'm pushing on this redone point, like leaving that open, is because mind frame wise, that would really help me. Not seeing this as a cover up, not seeing this as a result of the breakdown of your relationship with your sister, but just doing what's best for you, which you were going to do anyway. Should we see if there are any comments on this from the fellow Peaches? Not the drama, it's your body. That's the end of it. Oh, Peach is coming through. Your reasons are valid, but even if they weren't, it's still your choice and you don't need reasons. All of this. But I also understand why you have reasons. Not the drama, it is your body, and the tattoo doesn't represent your relationship with your sister the way that it used to. Absolutely. Oh, you are the drama. Why are your reasons for not visiting less valid than hers? You can do what you want with your body, but to me it sounds like you're doing it for drama. I'm not sure I understand where this comment is coming from, like at all, in terms of the tattoo. The one thing that I do resonate with a little bit in here is the reasons and the validity of the visiting. And hear me out. I had this big spiel in mind about how, yes, we can have dependence. There are reasons for you not traveling, but 2 hours, that drive, that distance, doesn't feel like a huge amount of time. It doesn't sound unreasonable that on a weekend you would be able to, once in a blue moon, I don't mean forever, but if it really meant a lot to your sister, and before she said those horrible comments, right? It kind of sounds like, reading between the lines, she was saying that she didn't like having to make the effort to come to you when she wasn't able to stay when you didn't go and visit her. That's what I was like picking up. And I totally understand having dependence, having a kid who doesn't want to travel. I get it. I get all of that. But I also understand and would have encouraged you, if it wasn't for those horrible comments from your sister, to have a think about whether you, for example, going on the weekend, because you mentioned being close with your mum, right? Like proximity wise close. Maybe your mum looking after the kids. Maybe one of your other siblings babysitting for you so that you can go and see your sisters. Maybe your husband even not coming with you and you just having like one-on-one quality time with your sister, if preserving that relationship and spending time with her meant a lot to you, because it does seem to mean a lot to her. However, all of that to me went out of the window hearing the horrible things that she said. You don't do that. You don't be such an unsupportive auntie, like not seeing someone, not being there just because a piece of paper hasn't yet told you what you know as a parent. And you certainly don't diss somebody's wedding and make it sound like they didn't have a wedding for whatever ridiculous reason she was giving, because it didn't make sense. I wouldn't be surprised if it was the sister herself leaving comments like this. And that's to say, I feel like the sister is not sharing something with you. She's clearly upset and she's lashing out and using these horrible excuses about your family as a way to hurt you, and you don't have to sit there and put up with it. And until she is able to grow up and actually explain to you what her issues are, then you don't need to hold any kind of guilt over not getting the tattoo redone. You know what? Even if you do make up, you don't have to hold any kind of guilt over getting that tattoo redone. It's your body. Best of luck though, Peach. I really don't think you're the drama. And other Peaches listening to this, get your fuzzy little butts downstairs in the comments section, and please feel free to help out O Peach too. Thank you so much for joining me on today's episode. As always, it's been a real learning moment. If you enjoyed it, do give it a thumbs up, subscribe if you'd like to see more. And if you're listening to this over on a podcast platform, remember that you can rate the podcast out of 5 stars too. It super helps us grow. And I'll catch you next week with another one. Be kind and have a great day. Bye.